Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining us. I would like to start this session by quoting Amnesty International's Secretary General, Agnès Callamard, who said, "History is not just something that is done to us, it is ours to make. And for the sake of humanity, it's time to make human rights history. It's a call to action to rise to the moment, to resist a world where the predators win and dismantle the global commons that so many before us fought for." Human rights defenders play a central role in this moment, which is why I'm really excited for today's conversation, which brings together three courageous individuals whose work, lived experience, and unwavering commitment reminds us why the protection of human rights defenders is both urgent and essential. Across the world and here in South Africa, those who speak truth to power continue to face intimidation, harassment, and far too often, violence. Investigative journalists exposing corruption, activists demanding accountability, and families carrying forward the legacy of loved ones who have paid the ultimate price all stand on the front lines of this struggle. Their work is not only vital, but also protected under domestic and international human rights law, including the rights to freedom of expression, association, and peaceful assembly. However, we are yet to see national legislation which recognizes human rights defenders and provides them with the protection needed. This panel is not only about the risks they face, but also about resilience, solidarity, and the power of collective action. It is about the responsibility of states to protect human rights defenders, to end impunity, and to ensure that justice is not just selective, but universal. When human rights defenders are under attack, all of our rights are at risk. It is therefore my honor and a privilege to welcome our panelists today. Malungelo, and I've apologized in advance for the inability to do the click, but Malungelo Xakaza. Malungelo is the only daughter of Fikile Ntshangase, an environmental activist and human rights defender who was shot dead in a home on October the 20th. Fikile opposed Tendele Coal Mining's operation at the Somkhele open coal mine in northern KwaZulu-Natal. Malungelo now carries on her mother's work through the Mafolozi Community Environmental Justice Organization, continuing the fight for human and environmental rights while seeking justice for her mother's murder. Thabiso Zulu. Thabiso is an anti-corruption campaigner, human rights defender, and whistleblower dedicated to serving the poor and the vulnerable. He has exposed widespread corruption, municipal looting, poor service delivery, police brutality, and politically motivated killings of activists in KwaZulu-Natal. As a result, he has been arrested, tortured, and seen those close to him killed. Though living in hiding and fearing for his life, Thabiso continues his activism and fight for justice. I also want to welcome Jeff. Jeff Wicks is an investigative journalist with News 24, specializing in crime, justice, and the underworld. With 19 years experience, he's a three-time Taco Cooper Award winner and received the 2024 Nakasa Award for Courageous Journalism. Based in Johannesburg, he has co-authored 8 Days in July, Inside the Zuma Unrest that set South Africa alight, and he's also authored The Shadow State, Why Babita Deokaran Had to Die. We thank you all for your courage, and we stand in solidarity with you. I would like to start with you, Malungelo. Losing your mother has got to be one of the most traumatic experiences anyway. But losing your mother in the way that Fikile was lost to you had to be devastating. So I suppose my first question to you is, how are you? And how are you doing? And really, if there's anything that you feel comfortable sharing with us on what happened on that day, we would be grateful, but we would also understand if it was too difficult. So just, how are you?
Good morning, everyone. I'd say I'm surviving. I don't think I'll ever be fine or okay, but I'm surviving. I'm comfortable to share the story. I think maybe there are some people who might not have heard it. In 2020, my mom was gunned down, but it didn't just start on that day. She had been part of the committee for Mtejo. That was a group formed in my village in Dubatuba, because in the nearby village, Maqhibini, the Itendela coal mine, had started working with blasting and relocating people. And the aftermath of the mine in that area scared my mom and a few community members of Opondweni, who then involved lots of organizations, and most of them advised them to get environmental lawyers. So during that time, my mom became a threat, first of all, because she was the educated one in that group. So it was obvious that she's the one who was enlightening the community about human rights, land rights, and all the things that go on for a community which accepts a mine to be working in their area. So it then escalated to her in a rural community, having a voice, standing up at meetings. She was seen as being disrespectful, especially to the men of the traditional house, because they would normally attend the meetings. So her and the people who were part of Mtejo were threatened, but no one took it as serious that someone will actually get killed. They thought maybe by hiding where they're having meetings, they would keep themselves safe. But in our case, they had started visiting the house without us knowing, but the dog will alert us if there's a person outside. It would bark and bark. And that is the dog that I'm sure in media is the most famous photo of my mom, where she's at a meeting with the traditional house and she's on stage because she was like, I don't want to stand in my spot. I want you to see me, feel me, and hear me. So she stood up on the stage and her dog was there. So that dog was the dog that would bark as crazy as it would to alert us that there are some people outside. And then there were things that would go missing. Maybe you forget a mop outside and you'd come back and it's not there. It later came to 2020. It was actually June. We lost my father, Mr. Ntshangase, due to COVID. So in June, there was my dad's funeral, and one of the community members told my mom that, I fear for you right now because your husband was part of the police. So they had feared him, and that is why they weren't really going for you. But I fear that they are really going to come for you this time. And 3 months down the line, while we were still mourning my father's death, while she was still in her black mourning clothes, they came into our house, 3 men. They didn't even disguise themselves. They came in, asked my son, who was 13 at that time. I was at my boyfriend's place on that day. So it shows that these people were paying attention to our routines. What are we doing? Where are we? What are we doing? What time will we be back? So they approached my son, and 2 younger boys were playing with him outside, and they asked him if it's possible for them to get some water. And while he proceeded to be getting them water, the dog started barking the same way it would. My son noticed that after the incident. And then they asked him if there are any elders in the house, and he said yes. And they asked him, who is the people that are in the house? And he said, Ugogo. And they were like, only your grandmother? He said, yeah. They said, oh, can we proceed inside and just to say hello so that she doesn't worry who are these men you're talking to? So they proceeded into the house. The first gunshot, my son now says that he thought it was the electricity box, you know, those old ones where if it cuts down, then it makes that noise. And the second shot, he then was alert that it was gunshot, and him and the 2 younger kids ran out of the house. So this case has been ongoing for the past 6 years, this year on the 22nd of October. And when I did my research last year, just because I was angry, I don't know what was in me, but my anger just told me that go to the police station, find out what's going on. My local police station, they gave me a whole runaround. But then when I got to the guy who was actually the investigating officer, he told me that they had 3 suspects and all 3 suspects have died. We as the family have never known that. So for 5 years, because I inquired last year, because the last time I had inquired, they had said, since the case was moved to Durban, everything got washed away with the floods. And then on the 5th year, which was last year, then the investigation officer told me that all 3 suspects have died, and we as the family had not known that. We as the family still do not know the names of those 3 suspects. We as the family still don't know who's actually in charge of my mother's case. So that's why I'm saying I'm surviving. I've had to relocate myself from my village because the kids of the people who were suspected of being involved in my mother's murder would ill-treat me in the community. So I was like, I'm being ill-treated in my village, and if I go and job hunt in my local town, I'm told straight up that I'll never get a job here because I'm the daughter of. So I had to relocate myself with no assistant. I'm currently in Durban since 2024. My kids are back home. My son has never received any threats, the one who was present. So I've got to, so both of them are still in Mtuba. I do go visit there. I was just sharing with patients that I go to Mtuba with so much fear, but with such a brave face. And I will talk to you even if I know how you feel about my mother and what she stood for. I will talk to you as if nothing happened. But as soon as the lights go down, that is when I'm like, God, did I survive those hours with those people? But yeah, we're surviving. One thing that hurt me the most, which came out of this, 2 things. The first one was that they did the job. They did the job because people are now in fear to speak out. People are now in fear to attend meetings. People are now afraid to be associated with you as a member, just being friends, just being relatives. I've got relatives who I haven't spoken to for the past 6 years. I've got friends who I haven't spoken to for the past 6 years. And another thing, the second thing that kills me the most that came out of this is my son's mental state, especially the one who was present on the day. He's 19 now, but he's had challenges after challenges after challenges. And for me, I see that the root cause of all this is what happened to my mother. And yeah, with me, challenge after challenge, but I have to be strong for them. And hence I'm still standing and still in the fight for my mother's justice and the justice for the people of Opondweni. Yeah.
And Malungelo, I mean, you know, we stand with you. We will continue to stand with you. We have stood with you for a long time now. And I think as Amnesty International, and we've brought in the global movement where possible, but as Amnesty International South Africa, we commit to continuing to stand with you and to fight for justice for Mam Fikile and for everybody else that has been killed or brutalized or just for standing up for their basic rights. So thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I don't think any of us can imagine the trauma, the psychological damage, the fear, the anger, and all of the emotions that you and your family continue to go through, including the economic challenges that you're facing. Thank you. I'm now going to turn to you, Thabiso. I mean, you know, you're somebody whose life has really also been really badly affected. You are constantly in hiding. you are constantly fearing for your life. So I just want to ask that question to you too. How are you doing? And also maybe you could give us a bit of an idea of why you are fearing for your life and what your life is like at the moment.
Thank you, and good morning, AI members and the board. I am not a victim in this. I am a participant in the struggle of protecting the rights of others. So I don't want people to feel pity and shame for me, but instead, I believe that we must show solidarity to each other. I'm not the only one who's going through difficult things. The first thing that I would like to do before I answer your question directly is to thank AI. It's not for the first time that I'm having an interaction with Amnesty International now. In the year 1999-2000, when I was fairly young and not physically empowered as I am now because of the challenges that I'm facing, that I can't even go and exercise or go anywhere. So I'm supposed to be in the same place all the time and move only when I need to move. There was a place called Creighton where I grew up. The SANDF was coming and victimizing people in the area. They were making people to dig graves because they were saying they are looking for firearms, and they will beat up people, women, children, and young men of the area. And Amnesty International played a very critical role at that time. The SNDF came to my home. They stomped over my camera and they stole documents because I was documenting all the violations that were happening at the time. So that will be around 26 years ago, and I'm still here, and Amnesty International is still here, still willing to listen and support and give solidarity where it can. So I really appreciate, thank you very much. And I still have got those letters that were written many years ago by Amnesty International requesting our government to intervene. Some of them are written from Brussels, some of them from Austria and elsewhere across the world. Let me mention Germany so that the Germans will not feel left out. We still have got your letters too. So we really appreciate those kinds of intervention. To moving from there, the story that I've narrated is just a demonstration to say we've been involved in what we're doing and what landed us to where we are since back then. Around 2010, we started exposing corruption together with other human rights violations. I'm a political animal. I grew up in the ANC. I never joined the ANC. My family members were ANC. They were not holding senior positions. They were just members. So I started being involved with the ANC at an early age. But around 2010, I was already in leadership. I was the regional secretary of the ANC Youth League. I was not a jukebox. I'm not talking about these ANC Youth League leaders who are jukebox, who operate based on what the elders are telling them and what money they are giving them. We were very independent and very resolute in making sure that the policies of the country intervenes in the plight of young people, the unemployed and the unemployable young people of this country. Then at the time we realized that corruption was really becoming a problem, a serious cancer, and the ANC in all its conference before and after that was starting to speak very openly against the corruption, but it was only making song and dance about it without doing anything. It was only for statements, and we felt like this corruption was stealing the future of our generation and future generations, and we had to intervene. Started exposing corruption. I did that alone. At a later stage, I was joined by my late friend, Comrade Malungelo. That's when I met Jeff around that time. He was still working elsewhere, but I think in the very same stable or media house. Then we started exposing corruption. We were having difficulty in having our stories told because the politicians were having a way of managing journalists. But people like Jeff were giving us the space to try and expose whatever we're trying to expose. I'm trying to summarize. In year 2014, we continued to do that. Things were starting to be serious. There was political tension. There were threats. We reported all the threats to senior people in government and in the movement. There was no action. We started warning that people are going to be killed. 2015, same thing. We know dates, we know times. Without reading anywhere, we know whom we met, where we met, and what were the dates. Then in 2016, my late friend, whom I had led in the ANC Youth League with, he was the first regional chairperson of the ANC Youth League in Erikwala, was the first regional secretary. He was coming from becoming he had just returned from here in Johannesburg after being the Secretary General of the ANC Youth League, and their structure had been disbanded. The late Thabiso Zulu called me, it was on the 27th or the 28th of September 2016. He said he needed to see me. Then we met at Ikopo. He gave me documents. He said these documents were exposing corruption at Umzimkhulu municipality. I took notes on that day. I still have got those original notes. He gave me documents. Then I said to him, please don't do anything and don't speak about this now anymore. I'm going to deal with it covertly. I know how serious it is, and I think you understand that it's very serious. The only way and the refuge for criminals, political gangsters, and squidlings is to kill people. That's their own refuge, is to intimidate and kill all the time. So I said to him, don't do anything. I'm going to act on it. I did that. I channeled the documents to the National Treasury, the people like Jabu Masoga, Soli Chitangano. I channeled the very same documents to the then head of the Hawks, General Ntlameza, through his staff officer, Colonel C.K. Kwai. I channeled the very same documents to Tom Moyane, who was the National Commissioner of SARS at the time. And I can count, I channeled the very same document, it's important I mention this, to the current National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Jan Motibi. He was head of the SIU at the time. So I said to them, here are these documents, I'm asking you to act, and there were interactions. Some of them were sending emails to confirm they received, they are going to act, and nothing happened. Fate was to have it. The next following year, or on the 9th and 10th of October of the very same year, 2016, there was a serious plot which meant that I was supposed to be killed and Sindis was supposed to be killed on the same day, but were at different places. That didn't succeed because their view was that if they kill me and he remains, he was going to fight and demand justice for me. And if they kill him and they leave me, I was going to demand justice. They had done their analysis very well. That's why I haven't stopped demanding justice for his death. Then what followed in July of the next year, they shot him. He survived for more than 58 days, then he died in hospital. We demanded justice. We did everything possible to demand justice for him and for his family to know what really transpired. It's been a very tough and a difficult time. It's something that I don't wish for even my worst of enemies. Exactly after that, during the memorial service before his funeral, I told the whole world and the media that was there and everyone else to say he was killed because he exposed corruption. At the time, the ANC was only willing to issue a statement. It will side with the victims' families. But that's the only way the ANC support victims' families, is to issue statements. It's a very funny way of supporting people. So we continued to demand justice. I've been victimized in every possible way you may think of. I'm having 2 threat assessments. The one was done by crime intelligence at a national level. The other one was done by state security agents at a national level, right? Because the provincial one of state security agents delayed to do it. The one of crime intelligence refused to do it. They refused to do it because at a later stage, we already had a clue, but we didn't know how they executed it. Thabiso Zulu was not killed by political gangsters and their assassins, but he was killed by the state. The state provided an AK-47 that killed him. The state provided a car. State agents accompanied the killers, shadowed them when they went to kill him. so as to make sure that on the road, when police or whoever is catching them, they, as senior people in crime intelligence, were going to make sure that these guys get past. Another difficulty that we've seen in this, those threat assessments have been ignored. We have done everything. We even had to go to court with the South African Human Rights Commission on my side. They hired me lawyers. I was taken to witness protection under protest. I told them that I'm uncomfortable. I got there. I knew that I would be killed, and I had to take myself out, because there are a lot of things. I'm not going to get into deeper details, but just to give you a clue. These houses, or these safe houses where they put you, are just lodges, right? Are just B&Bs. No one knows how these places are vetted. When I got there, I was given a new name, but I was not provided with the phone that they say they normally provide to people. Then I was using the phone of the guest house, the phone of the guest house's owner. Then the fellow who's calling me, the guest house's owner, is putting me on a speakerphone. The fellow who's calling me is calling me with my real name. So what's the use of changing my name if the fellow who's owning the guest house knows my real name? Besides, you take me to the province of KZN. In the province of KZN, I'm known all over. I've been a politician at an early age, but further than that, I've appeared in TV numerous times and in other media platforms. So if you take me to KZN, and at one stage there was a serious fight when they wanted to take me to the Lower South Coast. Lower South Coast is very close to Umzimkhulu. The other challenge was when they said where they are taking me to, someone is going to cook for me. I don't go around eating anything, even to the closest of friends, even water and other things. I'm very security-sassed, and it has assisted the survival. But let me finish by saying the following. The killing of Thabiso Zulu is a serious indictment in the fight against corruption in this country. It's a serious indictment in the will of our people to fight and expose corruption and defend human rights defenders and anti-corruption activists and whistleblowers. In a sense that you are having a person where the state is actively involved. The state agents are actively involved in murdering, assassinating a whistleblower. And that is taken as just another killing, just a statistic, right? You are having about Fikile Ntshangase, about Babita Deokaran. There is a serious bloodbath in terms of killing those who are exposing the rot that other people are only getting excited by seeing it in the Madlanga. There are untold stories of ordinary people out there who had bear the branch for exposing corruption. I've been beaten up not once by the police. Beaten, I'm talking about serious beating. And at the end, I will not be taken to court for whatever they will be claiming that they are arresting me for. They will beat me up, they will take me to the police station, they will release me on free bail, and on the day when I'm supposed to go to court, they will not enroll the matter because they know that I'm injured. If they take me to court, either journalists will be there so my face will be seen that I'm injured. They also know that the presiding magistrate will ask who injured me. So the best way of doing it, beat me up, keep me in the station and release me on a free bail. My mother has been called names, they've pulled our doors down, they've stolen documents, right? They will come home, beat me up, take documents. I've been shot at like a wild animal, right? Where they, on the 26th of October 2019, after I had ran out of money for bodyguards, after friends had ran out of money, some of the friends had been intimidated to no longer support me with the finances because they wanted to have me killed. The state have refused to protect me despite 2 threat assessments. Their own threat assessment, don't listen to them when they say, Thabiso wants bodyguard. I never said I want bodyguards. I said, do threat assessments. They did threat assessments. Their own security experts said, this man is going to be killed. Protect this man. The state refused to protect me, even went to court to make sure that I don't get protected so that I will get killed. Then on the 26th of October 2019, there was a protest march that had happened 2 days prior, which was an anti-corruption march. Then on the 26th of October 2019, they shot me. They shot me like a wild animal. They cornered me. The 49 cartridges were collected, among them AK-47s. The state even today is still refusing to protect me. So if you were to ask how I feel, I'm numb. I think I've done everything humanly possible to save my life, to try and expose the truth around the killing of Thabiso Zulu. I'm continuing, but it's very tough out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Thabiso. And to be honest, there are no words. There are no words that we can say, that would go anywhere near to providing any form of comfort. All we can say is that we stand with you for whatever that means, and we will continue to do so. Jeff, a same question to you, because, I asked this question because whether you are somebody who is experienced or like, Malungelo, her mum was killed, Thabiso, what he's been through, and you as a journalist, it comes at a cost standing up for what you believe in. So I suppose the same question to you, how are you doing? And then secondly, why, Jeff, do you do what you do?
No, thank you so much for having me. Just listening to the two narrations to my left here, I thought to myself that I'm ill-suited to be on the stage. I think South Africa has a rich history of watchdog journalism and investigative journalism, and how I feel about that is I feel proud, regardless of whatever threats that we face, because it pales in comparison to the originators of what we end up writing about, like Thabiso. So it's very difficult for me to reconcile, and I feel somewhat out of place. But I think the take home from what I've now listened to is that violence is meted out against those who threaten illicit revenue streams, whether it be illicit revenue streams from the state or illicit revenue streams from private interests. And it's a phenomenon that we've seen in recent history that should be disquieting to all of us, is that not only are people eliminated when they threaten powerful actors, people are no longer protected by status. And Babita Deokaran is an example of that. We've seen high-ranking police officers like Frans Matipa assassinated because he was investigating high-profile kidnappers and murderers within the SANDF. Boa Fanikirk, a lawyer, was killed by appointment at his office. Liquidators Kluta and Thomas Murray, they were assassinated in broad daylight on the busiest road in South Africa. So whether you are a liquidator, a lawyer, a police officer, and I fear what may come next, a journalist, you are no longer protected by status. People will take measures to silence you, and it in essence becomes a twofold solution, because you solve the problem of someone who's creating noise for you that could threaten, networks of patronage or whatever that may be, but it also sends a very chilling message to others. And I always say this when I talk about Babita Deokaran, and it is this: the true cost of the assassination of Babita Deokaran can only be measured in those who have chosen to stay silent, and that is a number we'll never be able to peg. Because, when we started investigating Babita Deokaran's death, we found her report that she had filed into Thabiso Hospital. She filed this report 19 days before her murder, and basically it set out her concerns about anomalous spending. This government hospital on the East Rand had processed 850 million rands worth of payments in the space of 4 months. That is 4 times their annual budget. it all followed a very suspicious modus operandi, and she raised her hand, knowing the danger that she faced, and she paid the ultimate price 19 days later when she was shot 12 times after dropping her daughter off at school. And when we started to investigate this, we obviously tried to cultivate sources within the health department, people that knew her. And I spoke to one woman who said, listen, I appreciate what you're doing, and I loved Babita, but if I talk to you, I will be dead as she is. And I think that is what they want, and it's the royal they. You know, the they will differ depending on the context, but that is what they want. They want to cow people into fear. And I mean, we owe people like Thabiso and Ma'am a great debt of gratitude that you refuse to be silenced. And I think something that we as, I don't speak for the entire fraternity of the Fourth Estate, but certainly my colleagues and the work that we try and do is to try and give these individuals, these brave individuals, a voice. And I am privileged to know that I was able to give Babita Deokaran a voice from beyond the grave. And realistically, it is a privilege for me to do this work because we are and have been able to, through sustained investigative journalism, effect real change to ensure that her death was not in vain. Because after she filed that report, it was buried and lost and never acted upon up until the point that us irreverent journalists managed to get our hands on her laptop and made it so loud that it became impossible to ignore. The problem is that, as Thabiso said, what risks happening is that these individuals become a statistic. Now, in Babita Deokaran's case, I was there to intervene. And unfortunately, with the amount of murders of whistleblowers in particular that we see in South Africa, it is impossible for, and in Babita's case, she had this troublesome journalist who refused to give up the story, and I still refuse to give up the story because I made a promise to her family that I would follow it to the end. And I'm intent on keeping that promise. So the problem becomes is that there is so much and it becomes so prevalent that it's impossible to investigate all of these incidences with the depth that they require and also deserve. So I feel, again, somewhat misplaced I've never considered myself a human rights defender. I consider myself a journalist, and it's my vocation. And I think it's representative of where we find ourselves now in our constitutional democracy, that in South Africa, less so than our colleagues from north of our borders, we are protected by a constitutional democracy that allows us to ask the difficult questions and pursue the difficult stories without as much fear of recrimination that we see elsewhere on the continent and elsewhere in the world. That said, we understand that we are playing a high-stakes game. You know, when you are the person who is thrusting to the fore information that could result in someone's imprisonment or threatening the money that they stand to make, there become millions and billions of reasons to take you out, and it is very cheap and very easy. You know, yesterday, and the timing of this panel is advantageous for me, is we saw the plea and sentencing agreement of Kat Matlala, arguably who once was one of the most powerful and dangerous figures in our criminal underworld. And investigative journalism and some brave police work achieved that. The problem is that it remains a drop in the ocean, and I think that's the caveat we need to measure that against.
Thank you so much, Jeff. You know, I mean, we have limited time on this panel because we could talk all day. But the one thing that has come through in everything, in all what the three of you have spoken about, and of course, you know, we've read your book, Jeff, is really about state collusion. state involvement. Thabiso has been very clear about it. Malungelo has talked about the police, going there. People have, alleged suspects dying, no justice. We know that in Babita's case, while people have been arrested, I mean, these are just the trigger pullers. They're not the ones behind it. We now have the Maklanga Commission. We saw what happened with Kat Maklala, as you're saying. But, again, I just want to hear from you guys, and maybe you could just pass the mic on as you start. We'll start with you, Malungelo. State collusion in all of this. How do you see it? And do you think that South Africa will ever reach a point where we will see justice, where people like Thabiso will not have to be running and being in places where, your mum's justice will be served without us having to fight? Do we think that the Maklanga Commission is going to achieve that? We've had many, many commissions. Very little has come out of it, but yet this time round we're seeing a little bit of movement. So I just want your thoughts on state collusion and, where to from here.
Thank you. For me, it seems as if it's going to be one of the longest roads. I don't have faith. I believe in my mother's case, my community has entrusted me to be the mouthpiece again, like my mother, and I still don't feel safe myself. And it's because I saw the process that she went through. You can report these things, whether to the police or to the people in power in that community, but you will still end up dead, like she ended up. I have no faith. But I'm glad the Maklanga Commission, out of all commissions, as you've said, that we've had in our country, it seems as if it's headed somewhere. Maybe it'll get to us grassroots people, I don't know. But for now, it seems like a dream, and it's only for those people who are going to be mentioned there. What about us? When and how do we fit into such platforms so that justice can be seen and served? But I have no faith. I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's a very difficult one to have a straight answer, but I will venture to say we had hope. We had hope when the Maklanga Commission started. I've seen so many commissions in my life, and most of them end up becoming a talk shop where people go there and say things. I've participated to some of them. I was in the Mwerane Commission that dealt with the political killings. It ended up becoming a whitewash, as if the plan was to check how much we know, so that they were going to cover up. The Maklanga Commission, because of limited of time, at times sensationalizing things and other people flooding things so that people are not going to get to other real issues. For an example, if you take the issue of Thabiso Zulu, we've only had the state admitting that the AK-47 was bought by crime intelligence, and witness E saying he wanted the state that Thabiso was going to be killed, the AK-47, but we haven't had anything after that. So it seems like there will be no follow-up on issues. And the other things that are being said there are aerial pictures a picture that is being presented there in other things is an aerial photograph. For an example, the Maklanga Commission is not going to go to Thabiso's mother and say, how have you felt all these years? Thabiso Makaqa's mother was attacked by people who, by the look of things, were coming from the intelligence community, the way they conducted themselves. They came home, she was with the neighbor who assisted at home and the child. They tied their hands through cables. They said they were coming to look for documents that were left by Thabiso. They looked into the house everywhere. they showed her a gun. They said if she behaves, they are not going to kill her. And they said, I mean, the mother asked that even if you decide to kill anyone in this house, only kill me. Please kill me. Don't kill this child. She doesn't know a thing. Don't kill this other woman. She doesn't know a thing. I'm Thabiso's mother. If there is anything that my son did that makes you to feel like after killing him, you also feel like you need to kill another family member, please kill me only. That's the pain that Madlanga is not going to hear. When the PKTT and others are going there, they are not going to tell those kinds of stories. They are not even going to tell you why they didn't take up that case, because that case is linked to the killing of Thabiso Zulu. They are not even going to tell you why fingerprints were never taken from the people who came to do that. So there are a lot of the things, as my sister have just said, in the case that involves her mother, where they just get told at a later stage that all of them have been killed. That has been a modus operandi all these years, where kill them all and the case is finished. Expose the witnesses. We can count in names. In the case of Wandile Mkhize in the Lower South Coast, in the case of Sbusiso Sbiya at eThekwini, in the case of many others. And the other the concerning thing in closure, the other concerning thing in this is that even in the Madlanga, it doesn't seem to give us a picture of the masterminds. It continues to try and expose the middlemen and the foot soldiers. And you see, it's like when we are having water that is coming from a tap, you only clean the water, you leave the tap pouring. These assassins and these people, some of them, are unemployed and unemployable young people. So hitmen will continue to be there because of challenges that we are facing, socio-economic issues. But the people that we need to arrest if we want to arrest this rot, arrest the masterminds, arrest the people who ordered the killing of that one and that one and that one. By doing so, then we will demonstrate that we are serious. Madlanga will run out of time in July if it doesn't get extended. We are losing hope.
Even as a cynical journalist, I must say I have a different view. When the Madlanga Commission was formed, it was obviously formed on the back of Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's press briefing, in which he spoke about criminal infiltration of the police force. And many people were enamored by the image that he painted and projected himself as. And for the uninitiated, it came as a surprise. But for those of us who've worked with the police and worked with whistleblowers who've been hard done by the police for many years, it came as no surprise. I think the common trope across both of the case studies that we've looked at to my left here is that either police infiltration and collaboration or police incapacity. It could be argued that the two run hand in hand. We know that the police was one of the organs of the state that was so badly denuded during the state capture epoch. And we also understand that during the very expansive Zondo Commission, not much attention was paid to the police. If you read the final report, they really just touch on the appointment of Burning Intlemeza and all of his misdeeds, and Richard Mdluli at Crime Intelligence. And at the time, there was a school of thought that there would be a follow-on commission to specifically look at the police, because what the police require are desperate reforms. We know now from evidence before the Madlanga Commission and also work that we've done, or the work of other investigative journalists, is that the police at the highest level have been infiltrated and captured. The Madlanga Commission now presents us with an opportunity for the reforms which have been desperately needed for decades. The police have an ignoble history of commissioners who've been left under either a cloud of corruption or criminal charges. It is fair to say that given that we can only make an arrest in 1 of 10 murder cases, the police cannot deliver on their constitutional mandate, and they haven't been able to for years. With what's happening at Madlanga now, not only does it give us the ability to push for these reforms through the commission, but it has also succeeded in identifying, suspending, and criminally charging a large cohort of the police's executive management. And these are not the foot soldiers, these are the enablers at the highest level. and ones which hold court with cartel members and criminals, and do so openly and brazenly because they've never risked capture. For the first time, it seems to me that the tide is at least turning. But again, let's insert the rider here. At the end of the Malungelo Commission, the commissioners will sit down and draft their report, and it will come with recommendations. We need the political will to act upon those recommendations. In as much as we didn't see that happening with the Zondo Commission, we need to understand that the police are so fractured and politicized. Even the heroes we try and deify are part of an information war, and we need to operate with our eyes wide open in this scenario. There are no angels in blue uniforms. I think all of us can attest to that. The rot runs deep. And if we can rinse the corrupt, the captured, and the criminal elements from the uppermost ranks of our police, we at least have some hope of having it trickle down to be able to make changes, to be able to ensure that the police deliver on their constitutional mandate, to serve and protect the people of South Africa as they should, and which they haven't been doing for years. And the result we see are the case studies here. 5 years, a dormant investigation, and dead leads in the Izinkabi. Thabiso has been attacked. His threat and risk analysis were done begrudgingly and then never actioned or acted upon. These are all symptoms of a broken system, and that really, for me, is the genesis of what could possibly turn the tide here.
Jeff, we've got 5 minutes. If you hold on to the mic, there's just a final question I have for all of you.
I'll keep it brief.
Okay, is really around when General Mkhwanazi spoke in that press conference, one of the fingers he also pointed at was the judiciary, infiltration of the judiciary, infiltration of, judges, etc. We are now focused on the police with the Malungelo Commission. Do you have faith? We've seen this in Zimbabwe, we've seen this in other African countries where the judiciary becomes totally compromised. Do you think that the judiciary still has a red flag hanging over it? Do you have, at the moment it seems to be going strong, but what are your fears around the potential of a compromised judiciary as we continue on this very difficult path that South Africa is in at the moment?
I think if we understand the fact that the judiciary was one of the key bulwarks against state capture that really allowed us to not go over the precipice. That said, the frailty is the human element. The human element is the one that can be corrupted, the magistrate or the judge or the SCA judge. You can never rule it out. But that said, I have faith that a strong and independent judiciary is still a hallmark of our democracy, and it's still in situ. That said, no one is above reproach. We've seen judges impeached, but that also tells us that we have a system of checks and balances that works. Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi also called for the state apparatus to investigate and monitor journalists. That is something that I will never agree with, because it takes us back to a time which we don't really want to go to. So we must be careful of who we idolize, and that's really the greatest take home for me.
For me, the judiciary have been a lifesaver in many aspects. But having said that, we must not be complacent as a country. Our structures and our different bodies in the country have been compromised in many ways. Count the useless IPID, count SIRA, the private security organ, which is a threat to national security by allowing criminals who have these security companies who are having bodyguards during the day who turn hitmen at night. You are having FIC, Financial Intelligence Center, who are totally failing. For some of us, if we are going to the bank to withdraw a certain amount, just a small amount, you get asked all kinds of questions. But how does it happen that a person will go to the bank and withdraw $1 million and that doesn't raise a red flag? So there are quite a lot of bodies and institutions in this country that were totally watered down and compromised and infiltrated in many ways. So the judiciary may not be immune, and it's not immune into that, and we must not be complicit, as I've said.
My take on this whole judiciary thing is, as long as maybe the laws have not changed, nothing in our country is going to change. As much as we may expose a few people, but a lot more play a role in the background. And it's still my cry that in such instances, we only see high-profile cases, as they would say. But us as people on the ground, we will still suffer, and unless something is done with our constitution, I believe maybe we'll see a brighter day after that.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank all the panelists. I think, Jeff, you make a really important point in ending that I just want us to think about a bit, is the way in which people are put on pedestals and idolized. I think, Makonazi, from the time that he did that press conference, he's been perceived as a massive hero. But, as you rightly say, there are massive questions around, how it's all played out. So I think really a lot of things that you've left us to think about. All I can say is that I speak on behalf of Amnesty International, on behalf of our movement as well, to say that human rights defenders, the protection of journalists, and really providing as much support as is possible for us. We will continue to be here. We understand that we've got to think about new solutions to these problems, because we can't do the same things over and over again, expect a different result. So, we will be engaging with you as well. As we move towards the local government elections, as Thabiso and I were saying this morning, we've already seen 4 assassinations. We're going to see more and more as we move towards it. A lot of work that needs to be done. But our deepest solidarity with all of you, and thank you again for all the work that you do. Thank you.